Hey, my name's Jason Creel and you're watching The Lawn Care Life. Today I'm going to talk to you about springtime lawn care for your grasses, particularly the warm season grasses, but this may be helpful to some of you in the cool season grass area as well. But I'm talking about Bermuda grass, Zoysia grass, Centipede grass, and St. Augustine grass, and I'm going to tell you what I'm doing to the lawns that I take care of and show you the products I'm using and explain to you why. Let's talk about it. All right, as somebody who takes care of hundreds of lawns for different customers, I find springtime to be the most challenging time of the year. Now, there's a number of reasons for that. One is I just get a lot of phone calls in the spring. That's when the customers are calling, you're getting new sign-ups, new customers, which is a good thing. But it makes it challenging to try to, take care of all the lawns that you're trying to take care of and at the same time go around giving people prices. But the other reason it's challenging is springtime is when the weeds can be very, very active. And it's also a time when some people are not mowing their lawn yet. I'm talking about in that March, early April time frame. I'm here in Alabama, and it's a time where some people may be mowing their grass, others are not. And if they have weeds, it just looks better if they'll mow their grass, but it's a tricky time also because your grass may just now be waking up from dormancy, depending on where you live, and that makes it difficult to control the weeds in some ways because you may not be able to apply a same weed control application that you would if the grass was completely dormant or if it was completely green. When you're in this transition period, when it's coming out of dormancy, transitioning to green, you've got to be a little bit more careful about what you apply to the lawn. So let me talk about some of the things I'm using on the lawn, both from a nutritional fertilizer standpoint and also from a weed control standpoint. And then I'll explain to you which grasses I'm using which product on and why. All right, so we're going to start just from the weed control aspect of things, and you may depend on, different people have different knowledge bases that watch the videos. So if this is some review for you, that's fine. But you've got pre-emergence and post-emergence. Just in general, basic terms, a pre-emergence is trying to prevent weeds, or post-emergence trying to get rid of existing weeds. So, for us, ideally, we want to apply a pre-emergent early in the year. When it's still cold, especially on these Bermuda and Zoysia yards. We're out there early January spraying yards and on into February, thinking that the crabgrass and the warm season weeds in our area are going to typically germinate sometime around March. So when that's the case, I'm applying, this is the pre-emergent, and you've seen this before on my channel probably, but this is prodiamine, and it's a relatively cheap product, and we spray the lawn, and that pretty much all but eliminates all crabgrass that you would have that year. But with that, if you've got a bunch of, as my customers like to tell me now, or I get a phone call, they say, yeah, I've got all these purple flowers in my yard. It's typically a weed called henbit or possibly purple dead nettle, or they just got all kind of weeds and clover and things like that in the yard. And so we want to put at least one post-emergent in there. So January, February, on into March and April, I'm spraying the Bermuda and Zoysia yards with this product. It's called Triplet. It's got 2,4-D in it and some other things, and that's going to get a lot of those broadleaf weeds. It's not going to fix all their grassy weed problems, and hopefully they don't have any of those, but we can deal with those with other products. But like I said, in my round one, we're going to call them rounds, in January, February, I'm putting out the pre-emergent prodiamine with Triplet. I also have a product called atrazine mixed in there with it. And then when I get into round two, I'm doing what you call a split pre-emergent application by round one and two. So round one, I'm using the prodiamine and Triplet. Round two, I come back and use more prodiamine and more Triplet. And once the grass starts turning green, then I take the atrazine out. So if I was in the springtime, let's say March and April, and you haven't done anything to your yard, and I'm talking about Bermuda, Zoysia yard in this instance, then depending on where you live, again, you want to apply some type of pre-emergent, hopefully before the crabgrass and other warm season weeds germinate. And you want to apply a post-emergent to help get rid of the weeds. So like I said, you could use the prodiamine and Triplet. Now, what is the one in the middle? You see here, this is Dimension, and what it does is it will get rid of, it will prevent crabgrass and other warm season weeds, but it'll also kill the crabgrass if it's already germinated. So if you got baby crabgrass in your lawn, the Dimension will knock that out, where the prodiamine will not do that. You need to get it down before germination. Dimension, if you're running late or you get a customer that calls you late and they haven't had their yard sprayed and it's already past the time when the crabgrass germinates, then you could switch over and use Dimension. So when I use that, I still mix it with triplet, which is going to help hopefully finish off some of those cool season weeds while preventing the warm season weeds. Now let me show you what I'm talking about in this situation. I'm going to take a look in the yard. So let's look at the yard and you'll see what we got. So that's a big clump of Poa annua, annual bluegrass that's left over. So that's cool season weed. If I was taking care of this lawn this time of year, already into early April at the time I'm shooting this video, I'm not even worried about getting rid of this Poa right now. It's gonna probably die out in May when the weather gets hot. So I'm not gonna break out my specialty products to try to get rid of it. We'll just let the heat take care of it. Now I'm gonna try to prevent it next fall with my Pre-Emergent. But if you look in this yard, you'll see here we've got, you know, some Bermuda grass that's starting to come alive and gonna spread. But what you also have, all these little lighter green plants, you see those? That's crabgrass. And this yard is loaded with it. So in this current situation, see all that crabgrass, baby crabgrass. So this particular lawn, if nothing was done to it and you just fertilized it and went on about your way, and this lawn did not have a Pre-Emergent applied to it this year. So if you just left it like it is, I'd say about July of this year, there's gonna be an entire lawn almost covered with crabgrass. It's gonna take over this whole lawn. But this is a situation where you can see it in this lawn because there's so much bare dirt. But think about if it had a nicer, healthier stand of grass, that crabgrass is most likely still there. So you wouldn't want to use prodiamine because it's not going to get rid of this crabgrass. You're going to use the Dimension, which can knock out this crabgrass. Now, if I'd have sprayed that lawn in January or February with this product, with the prodiamine, that crabgrass wouldn't be there. Now that it is there, I'm going to use Dimension. Now, you say, well, why would you use Dimension all the time if it prevents crabgrass and kills baby crabgrass? It just seems like it's a better product. Why wouldn't you use it all the time? Well, really, there's no need to, because this product is very, very, very effective on crabgrass. And this product costs over $500 for this 2.5 gallon jug. So there's a huge price difference between the two products. So that's a major reason why. The other reason spring can be a little bit of a challenge for a lawn care business owner is because customers oftentimes want their lawn green the fastest. They're like, can you make my lawn green? And they're pushing you to fertilize it, really, in my opinion, before it would be an appropriate time to fertilize. The grass is just now waking up out of winter. It's still mostly dormant. Temperatures, even here a week ago, went down close to freezing, and it's just a little bit too early. Now, does that mean that you can't fertilize? No, you can. It's just, it's not going to respond as well as the temperatures are still cool and the grass is just transitioning out of dormancy. So what I tell people, especially if they have a Bermuda lawn, if they want their lawn green fastest, one of the ways that they can do that is just by cutting it low, getting rid of a lot of that dormant grass and letting that sun get down to the roots and warm it up. And oftentimes, I believe that cutting it low in the spring is one of the ways that you're going to make your lawn greener, probably faster than one that was left long and shaggy and had been fertilized. But once the temperatures start getting up in the 80s, then I do start fertilizing my Bermuda lawns, and I will put I've got a fertilizer. I don't have it with me at the moment, but I do use a 20-3-5 blend of fertilizer that can help that lawn start to turn green and give it some nitrogen. And it also gives me a chance while I'm out there, if you get some spring weeds like American burnweed and these weeds that pop up, at least in my area in the springtime, I can take care of those weeds while I'm there fertilizing. And then on my time scale here, I come back in May and June, and that's when I put out my slow release polyon fertilizer. I buy my products from a company called Harold's, and they use this polymer coated fertilizer that will feed the lawn, you know, for the rest of the growing season at that point. Let me switch over and start talking about the Centipede and St. Augustine grasses and talk to you a little bit about what I do for those. Now again, I'm still, in my area, I'm still using a little bit of the Pre-Emergent on my round one. So January, February, it's that prodiamine that I've showed you, the Resolute. And mixing it with a product, I'm not using triplet, you're not supposed to use 2,4-D on those grass types. But I just put atrazine in there as a cheap weed control product that can help control clovers, things like that are in the lawn at that moment. Hopefully you won't have a lot of weeds if you did your fall Pre-Emergent on those grass types. But then even with the St. Augustine and the Centipede grass, you got to be even more careful than you do with the Bermuda and Zoysia during the springtime, during this transition period when the grass is coming out of dormancy and turning green. You know, because what happens sometimes, you'll see these lawns, Centipede and St. Augustine, and they'll turn green faster, but then you get a late frost and it turns them brown. I mean, they're just really struggling with this transition period, and to apply a herbicide to them at that point in time can really set them back. And we've seen this happen over and over again, where when you spray something on the entire yard, it's really going to be delaying the green up of that lawn the fall and spring. So we try to do the atrazine and the Pre-Emergent in round one when it's still brown, still dormant. And then when it starts transitioning, all I want to do is just spot treat for weeds if there are any weeds. I don't want to go in there and do some blanket application, because it's going to hinder it. And if you put that Pre-Emergent out, more Pre-Emergent, even what you use, it can hinder the grass from recovering and being able to take root as it tries to spread. So here's what we do in the springtime on these lawn types, on St. Augustine and Centipede grass lawns. And I'll just show you a couple of different things that I'm doing on the lawn. Again, just spot treating weeds with different products. I'm using Katana, Celsius. I mean, there's other products, but just again, just spot treating, not blanket appling on the whole yard. But here's the products I'm using on these yards during March, April, during the transition period. I'll show you first a granular option. I know many of you, if you're a homeowner, you probably use a lot of granular products. This is a 2-2-14 blend. The first number is your nitrogen, so only 2% nitrogen in this bag. Well, just in a general rule of thumb, your St. Augustine and Centipede grasses don't need as much nitrogen over the course of the calendar year as your Bermuda and Zoysia lawns. You can really push a Bermuda lawn with more nitrogen, but you don't want to do that on a Centipede or a St. Augustine lawn. So the idea here is twofold. Like I've already emphasized, it's very important not to blanket the lawn with a herbicide, because you are delaying the green up. Even if you get a lawn or your lawn has tons of weeds in it in the spring, I would just encourage you to wait till it becomes almost fully green before applying a herbicide. There's a couple reasons why. One, you don't want to delay the green up. We've talked about that already. And then two, a lot of those cool season weeds are going to die out on their own when it gets hot. This product here has a very high concentrate of what we call sludge, or if you're familiar with a product called Milorganite. It's not Milorganite, but it's a very similar product that's in the bag. And so you're providing some nutrients to the lawn that's allowing it to help recover from winter without pushing it too hard with too much nitrogen and not spraying it with a herbicide. And I'll say this past year when I started doing this and I quit applying herbicides in round 2 to my St. Augustine and Centipede lawns, I think they looked better last year than they ever have before. And I think that was a big reason why. But spraying again just really can set them back. Now this is the granular option. This is not actually my favorite option. What I would rather do is the liquid option if you have the capacity to do that. And let me show you the other thing that I'm applying. I usually don't do both of these, usually one or the other. So if I've got a really large yard and I want to spread it with a ride-on spreader, then I can use this particular product. But if I've got a smaller yard, then I like to use what we call the liquid cocktail mix. Let me show you that. All right, I'm gonna get a closer view of these products so you can look at them. But this is the liquid cocktail that we're putting out on our Centipede and St. Augustine lawns, and I'll go into more detail on these later hopefully, and I want to actually show you some results on another video. But these three products is what my like I said, I buy from Harold's. My Harold's rep introduced these to me, and he encouraged me to use these three for the same reasons we talked about, not applying herbicide, and to help the lawn during spring when it's this difficult time of transitioning out of wintertime and turning green. So you got these 3 products, and they say they're branded as Harold's Max liquid foliar nutrients. You got iron, you got potassium and calcium, and then you've got Earth Max. So the combination of 3 products is to show you what's in them. This one's got magnesium, sulfur, iron, manganese. This one's got nitrogen, potash, and calcium. And this one says organic matter and humic acid. Maybe you've heard some people talking about humic acid. And then just in layman's terms, I think understand that better soil grows better plants. I mean, if you're going to go plant 3 tomato plants in a bucket at your house, or you're trying to grow tomatoes, you're probably more likely to go buy some soil that is better to put in those buckets as opposed to just digging some dirt up out of your yard. So we understand that the soil has a lot to do with the health of the plant, including your grass. Well, what this is doing is providing some of those nutrients back into the soil. There's a lot of microorganisms at work in the soil that can benefit the lawn, and so being able to provide those nutrients that the grass can use is going to really help the lawn during this time, versus again the opposite, being spraying it with a herbicide that's going to, yes, control weeds, but set back the overall health of the turf. And that's a constant balance in lawn care in general. You got to balance weed control with turf health. And in this situation, with these particular lawns on the Bermuda and Zoysia, you see we're going more for weed control because honestly, they could just handle a little bit more during that transition time. But on the Centipede and St. Augustine lawns, we're going more for turf health because they cannot handle the herbicides nearly as well as the Bermuda and Zoysia lawns during this time. When you mix all these up in the tank, it looks kind of like stinky poo water. Think of it like this. If you might even thinking about your own body and your own health, and you think you've got bacteria living in your inside of you, good bacteria, and there's a lot of micro things going on inside of you that can lead to your overall health or sickness. Well, same thing, and that's not a perfect illustration, but same thing in the soil. There's a lot of microbiology happening in the soil that can benefit the grass, and these things are simply putting good microbiology back into the soil and that the plant can use, that can lead to some results. Again, I want to do a video and show you some results with these products. We'll do that some other time. After applying those products, I do come back May, June time frame and start fertilizing the Centipede St. Augustine grasses. I use a 18-19 blend. Still has some organic matter in it, not too much nitrogen. And at that point, the grass is green, and if you need to apply some weed control products, then it's a lot safer to do so to the lawn because it's not during that transition period anymore. Hey, I appreciate you watching the video. Hopefully you learned something. If you got any questions or comments, let me hear from you in the comments below. If you hadn't done so, also I'd encourage you to subscribe to check out the videos on the channel. You can click the channel link, Lawn Care Life, and go check out over 500 videos that I've done in the past. Look forward to talking to you later. Thanks a lot. Bye.